audio recorder just for giggles.
Okay. Yeah, I'm recording my voice if you end up needing it or whatever.
Okay, I appreciate that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode, 113 of CONSERVATISH. My name is Peter Feliciano, and I'm your esteemed host. And yes, I did change up my facial hair again. You're welcome. That beard was just horrendous. You can find this podcast at Spotify, on YouTube, where you'll see the video of our beautiful faces, as well as iTunes, and wherever you're listening right now or watching. Please subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and hit the little bell, please, on YouTube. Rate us, review, whatever you need to do. And also, you can find my album also everywhere music is available, and it's even better than my podcast, which is hard to imagine. And our guest today is Benjo, Mr. Producer Extraordinaire.
Right,
thank you so much for coming. I really hope this works.
I hope so too. I think there might be like a slight delay, which is probably going to cause some issues, but
oh, good, wonderful.
That'll be
I
fun.
hope it. Well, if it works in the video, then it works in the video, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. And if I need to just die, then I'll die. That's fine. I don't care. So you've been listening for way longer than I think you should. I think you were like.
I think I heard the first episode the day you put it up. Yeah.
That's amazing. How was it? How was I?
Good. I mean, so I listen to a lot of podcasts at work and stuff because I find myself sitting around doing shit, but like I can listen to whatever. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'm also the type, anybody shares music or whatever on Facebook, I always check it out. Like,
why are you so supportive? That's my question. That seems
it's really not for anybody. It's totally selfish purposes. I just like to check out people's shit. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Like when it comes to music, sometimes it's because oh, this dude put out some cool shit. Let's see what he's got now. Other times it's like an ego boost because I'm like, this guy's horrible. Let's see how latest one is.
Yeah, that's awful. I relate to that.
Yeah.
So you started listening, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been like continuously listening for a year and a half now.
Yeah,
almost.
I don't think I've listened to every episode, but I've listened to most of them. There's definitely been a few I caught like half of it or something, but I've listened to most of it. Yeah.
So first things first, I do cite you from time to time on the show. I don't know if you've heard me do that.
I've heard you say my name a couple times. Yeah.
Okay. And the reason why is because
positive light either. It's always like one of these fucking guys like Benjo, blah, blah,
blah. Well, not in a bad way, just in like in an example of someone who disagrees with some of what I have to say, sometimes a lot of what I have to say, but also keeps listening and is a genuine, even though, I don't think we met each other really very much. I've heard your music.
I don't know if we've ever like hung out. I'm pretty sure I've seen you play. I know I got put onto you from One Word because Tyler's homie. And but I don't even know. Yeah. And I think we were just like Facebook friends that, I got a lot of those where I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I got this guy on here from or whatever. And and then just like I said, I check out everybody's shit. So I supported your GoFundMe for the album because I was like, this guy can fucking sing. Let's see if he can actually make an album. And you fucking came through, It was like I knew you could sing, but I know a lot of people that can sing or can rap or whatever, but they can't fucking make an album, Maybe they're.
What's your definition of that?
What do you mean?
Like, what is your definition? Meaning, like, where does it fall apart? If they can sing and they can rap and they can write, is it the writing that falls apart?
Just, like putting the whole package together. If it's a rapper, maybe their producers suck or their taste in beats suck. If it's, they like, all I really knew about you as far as musical is that like you had the pipes, you could hit the notes, you can sing, you can really belt those notes out. And not to like diminish that, because that's definitely, I can't do that shit, but there's a lot of people that can do that shit, but then the songs they write are crap, or the production value is not important to them. So like, it's these shitty bedroom recordings that sound like crap, whatever. But your album sounded fucking great, man. Like I really have very little criticism for it. Mary Ate My Sandwich is the best. That song is fucking awesome.
See, this is interesting because I like hearing which ones are people's preferred. Mary is an interesting that was the last one that I wrote for. Well, maybe not the last lyrics. The last lyrics was My Old Man, but the last song, like whole package, was Mary Ate My Sandwich. I think I wrote it in like June, and the album, or maybe like April, and the album was out in September. So it was like it was pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, that one too. When you say, what is it with Jack Black and Jeff Buckley? And that one, I hear the Jack Black on that one more than any other song too, and I love Jack Black. So that's
okay, good. So yeah, you've been listening to the show, and I've really appreciated our back and forth, and also I do enjoy getting a little message like, "Hey, fuck that guy," when you message me, about this person or about that person.
Yeah.
So first things first, thank you for listening, thank you for supporting, and thank you for
I don't do it for the album. Well, you could say thank you, but I do it.
I know. Well, no, but the album would have been available anyway. You would have been able to pay $10 on iTunes.
Well, that's a different thing. I've supported a lot of artists and stuff like that, and it's like if I think somebody's passionate about music and they have talent, then it's like I'll throw a few bucks at that. You know what I mean? The podcast. I mean, I listen to the podcast because I like it, and I know. We disagree a lot, but I think you and I come from a similar place where we formulate our opinions on politics and stuff like that, but we just kind of end up at a different destination. Like I live up here in Oregon now, but I lived in the Bay Area for a long time, and I know that feeling of why does everyone just assume what the fuck I think about everything, and it drove me fucking nuts. And honestly, it was to the point where I was ready to push it a lot farther than I am now. I still consider myself a liberal, and I'm on the left, and mostly because I think liberals for the most part are fucking retarded these days about the and it's mostly a strategic thing. I think there's a lot of goals that are good, like equality and whatever is good, but how Jordan Peterson and stuff, they always talk about the equality of opportunity is good. Equality of output, that's just ridiculous. Some people are going to be better at different things and whatever. And not that, even Jordan Peterson, I disagree with him on most of the shit he talks about, but at least he's just being honest about shit. Well, we disagree on God, and that's actually what got me to Jordan Peterson, was looking for the best argument for God that I could find. And that kind of led me to him. And I think he argues really well, and that's one spot I think he's just super weak on. It always I agree. Religion probably helped us a lot to get to where we're at, and it served a purpose. And and that's his main argument is the utility of it. Therefore, it must be real. That's kind of where he jumps to, and that doesn't make any sense to me. I think we're kind of at a point that we could get past religion. And I think we should. I think it'd be better for humanity if we did.
You think it's similar to the Bill Hicks idea, where he would talk about these structures that have gotten us this far. Our next evolution is to let go of the idea of a president, or the idea of a religion, or the idea of, these certain structures that we have built up.
Sure, possibly. Yeah, totally. And shit is fucking changing. A lot of the shit that's going on with AI technology and automation and all that's that shit is coming whether we want it to or not. And
are you in the Yang Gang, Benjo? Are you Yang Ganging it right now?
Yang, actually. I donated to his campaign. Although, I don't think there's a chance in hell that he's going to win. But, I think he just seems like one of the only candidates that, is being realistic about shit, not playing to these, stupid emotional issues. There's emotional issues tied up with, the future of automation and stuff, but,
sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Identity
I think
politics. I think him and Tulsi are kind of more middle of the road.
Those are the only two I like, really. Honestly, I like Bernie Sanders. I think he's a good dude. Even someone like AOC, who's obnoxious to me. I think she's a good person. She wants to do right. She just is totally oblivious to the real world and the way shit happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's probably because I'm sexist and racist and whatever
else.
I don't know. I'm definitely a very logic and rational type of person, and I hate all this. Politics is just not that. At least in my lifetime, it's always all this ridiculous shit that I just can't stand. So I think that like I think that we agree on a lot of that, and I think you tend to like push back more on it, where it's like in a way that I guess I would say is just probably not helpful. You know, like supporting Trump is like, just because these people are being stupid doesn't mean like, so I'm gonna go to the guy that like pisses those people off.
Well, define supporting Trump. Define it, because too many times I feel like one of the crazy aspects of the left is that people, they say, like, they categorize you as Trump supporters. Like, no, not necessarily. Like, I don't like the motherfucker personally. I think his attitude and his immaturity is detrimental. I think some of his things, his policies, I disagree with. But on the whole, even if I agree with the motherfucker 40%, but I agree with everybody else 30%, I'm going to go with the 40% guy,
Well,
especially when so many people are shitting on him.
I can dig that, but I would say like when you're talking to somebody like me, that comes out a lot more. But then when you got like those Proud Boy guys on here, and it's like, I mean, there was a lot of shit. Like, it was funny. I think it was the second time, and I mean, not even to talk shit about what was that guy's name? He seemed like a smart, nice guy. What was it?
Jared.
But like,
just to be clear with anybody watching new, he was Proud Boy on the first episode, and he was not on the second or third. But anyway.
Well, I thought it was funny because the second time that he was on, there was something that you guys disagreed with. I think it was the little strawberry candies, and you said finally something we disagree on, and I'm like, that was like condone all the shit that he just fucking said. You know what I mean?
But what was one of those things that he said that I would have disagreed? I mean, obviously, I was saying that joke for hyperbole's sake,
sure.
And plus, especially because anybody who doesn't like those strawberry jelly candies is a horrible person. And but what would be one?
I mean, I don't need to like comb through every word you've said and like find it. I just mean like there's stuff like that where I feel like I don't know, man. It's like I would say the only time that I shake my head and go, God damn it, Peter. I'm like say something about that, or like, you know, I don't know. It just seems like you like, I mean, wearing a MAGA hat. Why would you wear a MAGA hat? Walk around. It's because it infuriates people that annoy you. I get it, but it's like that doesn't help. You know what I mean?
It helps me. I don't, and I haven't worn it in public. I just wore it on that episode for 2 seconds. Oh no, I did wear it in public once. Lily Akapova and I went to that restaurant in San Mateo where that owner said, if anyone comes in wearing a MAGA hat, they're not welcome. So we went there, ordered food, and then put on the hats just to be like, all right, well, let's see, you know.
Sure.
Nothing happened. So it wasn't a good enough video to post or whatever. But outside of that, I haven't, you know. But I've also done it the opposite way, and I'll point to. Have you heard the Remy Casimir episode?
Maybe.
The female comedian from How Come podcast.
Yeah. That's one of the newer ones. Yeah,
one of the newer ones. So she was saying, you know, sometimes I'll have somebody on, especially if I don't know them or if we don't have a rapport yet or we whatever, where they'll say a sentence like, well, of course, feminism, you know, is blah, 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 is wonderful as it is, you know, and rather than have to stick to, she said things that I said, okay, to, and right. I just, okay, and just wait until she gets to her point or, you know, maybe push back a little bit. But I did that for a couple episodes for people that I've had on the right as well.
Sure. I mean,
point that out
I don't know. I guess it's like I contribute like Trump getting elected to like the whole like troll culture and like pissing people off for the sake of pissing them off, you know, which like I get, it's funny, whatever. And like, I mean, when I was younger, that was like my whole thing. I loved to just like piss off uptight people, you know, it was hilarious.
You wear like nail polish and shit.
Yeah, whatever. And I guess like, I don't know, like I know you've said before too, like with like Donald Trump being president, like has your life changed? Like my life is the same as it was the last president, whatever. And I can agree with that. But like, I guess I'm looking at the long-term goals of it, especially like being a parent and like thinking about like the future of the world for my kid and whatever. And like I'm more worried about like the world that'll be left for him than I am for what, like, I don't think Trump is going to ruin my life, but shit like fucking climate change, just totally disregarding it, or like pushing us back farther, or like encouraging this divide that's happening. Like, I definitely think there's danger to like, just furthering this, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like seeing everyone's so polarizing about politics to where like I'm really, if I had to like define where I feel I am at politics, it's like center to the left. Like I'm slightly to the left because, I do, like you were saying, like I like gays and I like guns, I like both of those things. And I also like, if I have to like, if I'm not sure, I'm like, should we do this or should we do that? I'm going to take the compassionate choice, like there's plenty of things like, I mean, like I would say I'm pro-capitalist, which is not very popular on the left, which is funny because it's not really necessarily a left or right issue to say that you think capitalism works, but it's kind of like for some reason everybody on the right is pro-capitalist, everyone's on the left is, anti-capitalist, which is so fucking stupid because anybody that studies history knows that like, it might encourage greed and this and that and whatever, but it's by far the best thing that anybody's fucking tried, and like we have everything that we have and we've come as far as we can thanks in large part to capitalism,
Right. And plus I also fold in that idea that greed finds a way, you know what I mean? That humanity, as wonderful as we can be, we're also pretty fucking awful in whatever structure we are. And we've gotten better, because of society, we get away with less rape and crime has gone down and all kinds of wonderful shit has happened. We're getting better, but humanity is still dirty. And if, even if we're under a different umbrella, socialism, whatever, it's still, the greed will find a way, just like it already has.
Right, totally. Well, and that's the thing, people pushing for like socialism or fucking communism are fucking stupid because it's like, even if you got a system set up where everyone's like, there's no, billionaires and there's no this and that and whatever. Even if you had like a government group of people in charge that were honest, trying to like help everybody out, the next generation, how are you going to replace those people? The only people going into those roles of saying who gets what and writing the checks, are going to be the people like politicians now. The only people that get into it are fucking the greediest motherfuckers in the world.
Right.
Like I have no interest in being a politician because I feel like I'm not a very greedy dude. There's no reason. Why would I want to stress out over that shit, and have everyone, go through everything I do with a fucking fine-tooth comb to try to fuck me over, I mean, it's the same, like, that's like, it's really cool to talk shit about cops these days and whatever. And I get it because most cops, I knew one cop that was a pretty cool dude, but every other time I've dealt with cops, they're fucking assholes. They're just bullies looking for something, whatever. But like, what's the alternative? You know what I mean? Yeah, you're going to attract the people that want power. So you get rid of the fucking cops. You think that's going to like make shit better? No, So it's kind of like, I think the problem with everybody on the left is living in this fantasy world of like, well, it should be like this. And you're like, okay, well, it's not. So what the fuck are we going to do?
Right. And I think, I agree with that. I will speak to the idea that a couple of things. I also feel that as far as cops go, I think, number one, it's an insanely difficult job. And I literally just saw a lady like an hour ago. I was walking down the street and this lady cop, she was Asian, by the way. So Asians all do bad things, but she was a cop and she was trying to direct traffic and she was super frustrated, whistling and just like, get the fuck. She's like, I waved at you to go, motherfucker, type of shit, right? She had that vibe of just a really angry, frustrated broad. And I get that because, I think maybe she needed a vacation or maybe choose another job or whatever the fuck, or maybe she's just having a hard day, that hour. But like, it's got to be really difficult to be in that position where you're dealing with not just mistakes or whatever, but also so much bad stigma. And also literally people in New York, especially, cops in a giant city literally have to grab naked people who have covered themselves in feces,
Sure.
who have, needles on them, like, and they just have to do that. Not just that, but I kind of feel like they have to keep a weird, I'm not your friend type of vibe, especially if they're smaller. They have to keep that emotional distance between them and another person to keep that authority, I believe. Because
I agree with
sometimes,
everything you're saying.
even me at my job, if I'm having a bad day, or I find out that I can kind of skirt a corner with a certain manager, I'm gonna keep fucking skirting that corner,
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, I agree with everything you just said. And I mean, yeah, being a cop is like the last fucking job I'd ever want, ever. Especially they don't get paid shit either.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, unless obviously there are some people that are just completely delusional that think like we should just not have police officers. But if you can accept that, okay, we need some people keeping the peace, then you got to think of what person do you want walking into the crowded thing where people are getting crazy or whatever. You want somebody that can take control and is a little intimidating and whatever else. So you want that, but then like when they act that way, it's like people get upset. So you need a certain type of person to do that job.
Right.
And like, you can't have some of these guys that are talking all this shit about cops. They'd be the worst fucking cops around,
Mm-hmm. I kind of go back to that Patrice thing because I mentioned it again. I can't help it.
I know,
Every
I think
fucking
we say
episode.
Patrice every fucking episode. Which I fucking love stand up. I never have been much of a Patrice fan, and not that like, and I don't dislike him. He just never really did it for me.
You're a horrible person.
I know.
I did have, okay, so one of the things he said about cops was, he's like, I want big giant fucking dude cops, because if you're a smaller cop or a female cop, there's been a better chance, not always, but there's a better chance that you have felt powerless in your life, and so you are more likely to utilize the power that you get and to overdo that power that you get inside of the structure of being a cop, to be a dick to people,
Right.
so that you can feel powerful,
Oh yeah, totally. Those are the worst
kinda
ones.
see
The little ones and the chick cops are like the worst ones.
Right. And so I will point out too, and I know you agree with this, but like from some of the things that you've said and that you've agreed with me on so far, only 23 minutes into this episode,
Right. Oh, we'll get worse.
You're a horrible racist. Yeah. Sexist,
oh, right. Yeah.
misogynist, fucking problematic. You know what I'm saying? And that's the main thing it's not that I'm super fucking Trump. It's that what we're being offered, even though I get that some of these guys who are going some of these politicians, these Democrats who are going super far left, are really only trying to appeal to the base. They may not actually put forth the idea of genuine socialism, although I think Bernie fucking super does. But like they may not actually, they're just trying, just like in the 80s and 90s when people would have to be, super Christian in order, even Trump had to be like, oh, sure, I'll go to church. That nigga's not in fucking, not in fucking church ever.
You can't be an atheist and get elected to anything in this country still. If you're like, I mean, there's some people, it's happening, but that like blows my mind too, because there's like all these like studies showing people don't give a shit if you follow the same religion as them. You just gotta have some God that you look up to. And I don't know, that seems so bizarre to me. I really don't get it,
Right. In general, this is an interesting topic. Let's talk about this, because I know I have said some things. I'll say a different side of it. In general, most of the atheists that I know are fine people. Like, it's not like they need some sort of a religious structure or whatever in order to make sure that they're good people.
Right.
So I think I have said that, and I'll definitely say that. But one thing you did message me about was that I had said at least once or twice that atheism, the impetus for it sometimes, not all the time, sometimes comes from just being angry.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get that, because I know exactly the type of person you're talking about. I can honestly say I don't think that's where I come from at all. Like, I mean, like I've been probably around when my son just turned 8 years old. When he was born, I really started feeling like I was on this spiritual journey to like figure out what the fuck I believed in, what this was all about. Before that I didn't really give a shit, And
Right.
so like I mean, honestly, sometimes like I'm jealous of people that believe in a religion or whatever, because it kind of like just makes it okay. That's already figured out. I don't need to like worry and whatever. And like, there's this plan that's getting going, you know. So, you know, being truly believing that there's no God, it can be scary, you know, like because it's hard. It takes you a little bit more thought to like find purpose and whatever in life. I mean, but overall, I don't know. I through the my own journey, I feel like that's how for a long time I couldn't let go of it, and I would say things like, well, maybe the Big Bang and whatever that is, that's God, or like, you know, this or that, which I think is another big part of it
Higgs
too. A lot of
boson,
people that, what's up?
the Higgs boson, or stuff like that.
Right, yeah. And it's like all this, it's like the God in the gaps, wherever the limit of our knowledge is, that's where God is, and they just keep pushing it back.
Yep.
But when I start thinking about, you know, like how fucking small I am on this giant planet and our planet in this giant solar system, and like, you know, keep going back. Some people I can see that it would make them feel like nothing or whatever, but to me, it makes me feel like, wow, that's fucking amazing that I'm part of this that's so huge, and like I get to see it down at this fucking super microscopic level, you know, where I'm
Sure.
looking around at this stuff that, you know, yeah, there probably is life elsewhere or whatever. They have no idea that I like that's fucking cool to me. I love that shit, you know.
Right.
Um, and I don't know, like so one of the things when I was trying to figure all this shit out, I started getting really interested in like evolutionary biology and reading a lot of books on that, and which led me to like Richard Dawkins. You know Richard Dawkins,
Mm-hmm.
um,
All
and
right. As far as Richard, he's an angry motherfucker. Let's be real.
yeah, probably, but like he's got this book, The God Delusion. It's really fucking. The whole book is basically him laying out his argument of why there's no God, and I think it's like such a watertight argument. But like his anger, because I don't think I'm an atheist out of anger, but religion does piss me off. It like in aspects like teaching kids that shit. Like I went to church when I was a kid. I remember having grown men tell me that like I'm gonna burn in hell if I don't believe in this shit. And like I mean, you tell a fucking kid. Spoiler alert, guys. There's no Santa, okay? But you tell a kid that Santa's fucking real, they believe it, you know, and that's like obviously ridiculous. So
Right.
you tell these kids these other like crazy things, and then they see like, wow, my parents believe in this. Every adult I'm around believes in this. It's really hard to break that in somebody later on, you know. Like I feel
Right.
like my family wasn't super religious, but I did go to church, and it was hard for me to like finally say because there was always that what if it is all real and now I'm gonna burn in hell and to me, it's like if there's this like great powerful God, he doesn't know that you're just pretending to believe to like hedge your bets. You know what I mean? Like I think you genuinely have to believe. And just in general, like you know, why would a God create me to be so skeptical of these things and see this argument that's so right? And I'm genuinely looking for the truth and trying to be open minded. And like I said, like I landed on Jordan Peterson originally because I was trying to find who can convince me that there is a God, you know? And like
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read the whole Bible, but I've read a lot of it. I've been reading the Quran, uh, just to like see like what is it? Like why is it that this doesn't make sense to me?
Right.
And you know, the more you see of like so like I said, it was hard for me to let go of that. And for the longest time it was like, but maybe there is, you know, and like I would find myself sometimes in hard times, not necessarily praying, but kind of like talking to somebody like if there's somebody out there, you know, fuck, help me out here and whatever.
Right.
So, and I think it is kind of like human nature to do that, you know, which I think explains why religion even started in the first place.
Right.
But I just like so learning about evolution and seeing things like how it really works and getting like I at this point I feel I have a pretty good understanding of the way evolution works, which I thought I did when I was younger. It's like, oh, there's a mutation and then that happens. But then you start asking questions, how the fucking bird get a wing? You know, that doesn't make any sense. How did it go from this or that? And seeing like examples of like exactly how that could have fucking happened, you know, step by
Right.
step and understanding that it's not like a monkey gave birth to a human and that's what fucking where the first human came from. That's just not how it works. I feel like evolution, it explains so much because it's all about taking something really simple and making it more complex. So you see how complex the world is now with this variety of species and all these different things. And you go back and it gets simpler and simpler and simpler. And you see other things. I mean, even the way culture evolves or humanity has evolved and whatever, it all kind of works like that. It's something that's getting more and more complex. So you bring that back in time and follow the logical conclusion, it's going to get simpler and simpler to a point where it's nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not that I understand what that would mean, but I don't see how there's something infinitely more complex than I am, like a god, that was at that beginning point. Well, then that's not an answer to me. Like, what fucking created the god, you know?
Right. So a couple of things. Number one, I'm not an atheist, but I agree with you on a lot of these different points. Number one, it's fucking child abuse to tell a motherfucking kid that they're gonna go to goddamn hell. I don't care if you're brown and Muslim or you're white and fucking Christian. I don't give a shit. To fucking to do that to a kid is fucking horrible. Now, at the same time, one of the things that a lot of atheists, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit, and we'll take a couple of these different pieces if I can goddamn remember, because I'm also slow. Well, no, I'm pretty smart and wonderful. But one of the things you said was this idea that, well, I'm part of the reason why I'm atheist, because I like thinking about this stuff, and I have to think about this stuff. Even the hardcore Christians that I know anyway, most of them think actively about spirituality or their version of it every fucking day. They're not just like, okay, well, I believe there's a God, so he'll take care of it. And now, I mean, the ones who do are douchebags. The ones who do are the ones who are sucking a dick in a they're a politician sucking a dick in a airport bathroom and then fucking, voting against gay rights. The ones who do go that direction suck ass. And I'm super for that. But the ones who think, there are a lot of them who think actively, who are constantly trying to better themselves, whether they use religion or spirituality or whatever, just like there are Muslims or in any religion. There are people who utilize these things not only to better themselves, but to better and try to be altruistic to their fellow man, just like a lot of atheists do. So there are a lot of very active thinkers and especially meditators and people who really kind of delve deep into that stuff. So as far as the people who believe in a God are just stupid angle, that honestly,
I see why what I said came out. I don't think that people that believe in God are stupid. And I just think that, I mean, how many of those people found God as an adult? I would guarantee every one of those people were taught God as a child.
No, the ones that I know often were more, so in this certain spiritual group that I'm a part of, there are a lot of them that are angry or grew up with a bullshit God and had to kind of shed the idea of whatever that religious or spiritual structure was and get their completely own version of it, whether it be, by reading the Quran or by reading the Bible or just by reading fucking Deepak Chopra or whatever the fuck, and going into Buddhism or whatever, who had to find their own structure that worked for them. And I'm all for that. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not saying you said that they were stupid, but like the Richard Dawkins idea, even I know he had to do that to kind of get, because it's what he feels and it's his book and it's his art and he could do whatever he wants. But to really believe that as like, these are all delusional people, like, okay, maybe in fucking Alabama or in the 90s,
but like he doesn't think they're delusional. I mean, that's like Sam Harris. That I really like Sam Harris. That I got to Sam Harris through Richard Dawkins.
Yeah, and I like Sam too.
I mean, honestly, the Sam Harris at this point, and even him, I found a few things I don't totally line up with him on and whatever, but I would say his thinking is like the closest to mine that I found. He might be more articulate than me, might have a higher IQ.
He's also fucking dry. God damn it. I can sleep. Holy shit.
Because he's and actually you mentioned meditation. I've been meditating for the past few months myself, or trying to. I don't think I've like reached.
Atheists aren't supposed to do that.
Hey, Sam Harris does it. I'm following.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, and I know we're in the middle of a point, but I think before I forget, I think that idea of whatever you were praying or even you meditating, higher self is a version of a higher power. Whether you, even if you don't call it a God per se, we all kind of feel that thing that what's out here is not all that's real. There's something, whether it be we call it our spirit or our soul or our higher self or whatever you want to call it. There's something that we can access, and maybe religious people have it in a very different structure, and it sucks ass when they try to put it on other people. But to completely do away with that idea, that's the version of atheism that I
Well,
don't like when it's militant,
here's the thing. So I think it's important, like, to have a definition of what God is, because, like, often, usually when I get into a conversation like this, it turns into like, well, like, for one, like, I know I've been told I'm arrogant a lot of times to say there's no God or whatever. Oh, you think you know everything, that's why. And it's like, no, but my whole point is that I don't know shit, and neither do you. You know what I mean? Like,
wouldn't that be technically agnosticism?
no, because I think that would need me to say that, like, there's no point to it, or that that you can't know. Like, I think I believe in an objective truth. There is an answer. I don't know if I can comprehend it, or if, like, human beings can. Maybe we could, maybe we will. But I think to be agnostic, I have to have a little bit more of a, like, you can't know. There's no way to know.
Oh,
I think
I've never heard that. I've never heard that definition of agnosticism. The way I've understood agnosticism versus atheism is agnosticism is there's probably something, I don't know what it is. I'll look around, or maybe I'll, I don't believe there's something, but maybe there is. And that kind of vague, whatever. From my experience anyway, or from my definition so far, atheism is like, I definitely know there's nothing.
Well, here's the thing, because again, it goes to the definition of what God is. Because, like, an atheist is anti-theism, which is like religion. You know what I mean? Someone saying this is what it is. There's this God, or there's that God, or
Right.
So, like, I mean, like, most people that would claim to be Christian, you start, like, digging into it, like, do you believe in Noah's Ark, or do you believe that Adam and Eve were this and this? And it's like, well, no, and maybe they have a metaphor for it, this and this. But it comes to, like, stuff where it's like, like, even, like, talk about, like, how to treat your slaves and whatever in the Bible, or do you believe every literal thing in the Bible? And it's like or I mean, like, would you consider yourself a Christian, or just that you believe in God?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry to the good girl in advance because she listens to every episode, and even though she's a dirty pervert, she's also a Christian. I don't.
Like, do you believe in the Christian God?
But what would your definition of that be? Because I don't believe that I would need to take into, because a lot of people's version, and probably 99.99999% of Christians even, would say that the definition of a Christian would be somebody who needs to accept Jesus into their heart in order to be saved.
Right.
I don't believe that God puts that type of restrictions.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I also find a lot of wonderful shit in the Bible. I also find a lot of wonderful shit in a Christian church, a lot of beautiful connections in the spirit or the higher self, us all putting shit together or whatever. I've told stories about it. But, like, I also find value in that religion and value in that connection as well.
I mean, I definitely think there's some wisdom in those words. But it's interesting too, because I think like I said, I haven't read the whole Bible. I've read a lot of it. And I've probably read more of the Bible than most people that call themselves a Christian. And
Maybe.
Like, I don't even understand, like, how anybody could say I'm a Christian. And you're like, did you read the, like, handbook for being a Christian? No, but I'm accepting it.
Have you run across that personally, or mostly on, like,
oh yeah,
TV
I definitely. I would say most people I know are Christian have not read the Bible. They might, they've heard it in church and stuff like that.
Right.
I think there's definitely a big difference of, like, reading it yourself, going through and saying, like, what does that mean to me? And, like, whatever else, rather than like that was always my issue with church too, is that, and I still enjoy going to church, and it's mostly because I do like to see how far someone's interpretation is going to get pushed in church. So now you're just trusting, oh, this guy's going to read us. A lot of times you go to church and they're reading you, like, one passage out of there, and then talking to you about those couple sentences the whole damn time, and what that means and this and that. And it's like, well, that's not in there. And a lot of the times for me, like, now when I go to a church and I'm listening to it, like, Well, that's not what I got from that. What you're saying that like that's what this means or whatever.
Right.
And so I think that it's hard for me to take somebody like they're really trying to answer those questions when they call themselves a Christian, but then they haven't read the book. Like I think you just want to wrap a package and say I'm a Christian. Maybe they don't really care. It doesn't interest them, whatever. But like, how are you going to be a Christian and then also act like you genuinely care what the truth is, but you didn't read the goddamn book? Like,
I'm definitely I agree with that. I kind of feel, and this is coming mostly from an ignorant standpoint, but I feel like most of the Old Testament we could kind of throw out. Number
yeah,
one,
totally.
I think the idea of, and even if it is a metaphor,
Dude, sorry, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, but throwing the Old Testament out, I mean, like,
there's good stuff in there too. There's good stuff in there too.
But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like how there was nothing ever written about Jesus till 30 years after he died and whatever. And, you know, the whole idea that like, you know, a game of telephone, and when you say it to one person and they say it to somebody else, it's going to change and whatever else. And doing that, I mean, I think if there was a God that's so infinitely complex and powerful that they could create all this from nothing, and that it's just something so complex that we can't even comprehend it, and we have to have this faith or whatever, how can he not keep that book? Like, how can he not use his powers to make sure that that book stays exactly what he wanted through all this time? Like, why is it?
Well, I kind of think that it would actually, I think there's a lot of spiritual benefit, or mental or emotional benefit, whatever you want to call it, to having it not, into having it vague or having it not known. I think the problem is one step further from where you're coming from. The real problem is when people live 100% believe there, you know, not even obviously including the level of believing that there were no dinosaurs, or God put us, God, you know, like Bill Hicks used to say, God put it there to test our faith, you know, but either believing it blindly and not even thinking about it for yourself or framing it for yourself, and especially forcing that on other people. That's where I think the real problem is. Not that, because I don't give a fuck if atheists don't believe. I don't give a shit. But the minute where like that anger that I usually point to is coming from a place of not just my experience when I became an atheist, and then afterwards, but also coming from the place of having such spite and blind atheism to think that, well, look at all the wonderful shit that's happened because of religion. Look at all the beautiful shit that people are doing, not just for each other, but also, or religion or spirituality, the meditation and the touching of the higher self, and all this wonderful shit that comes from quote unquote spiritual structures, or just spirituality in general. That's what I have a problem, you know, because I feel like it's just like I was saying, where chaos finds a way, greed finds a way, anger or blind bullshit or vindictiveness finds a way, whether it be in Christianity, Muslim religion, or atheism.
Those goddamn Jews.
Exactly. You're so problematic.
Don't use that as the clip that you show me.
Oh my God, I'm going to.
Yeah, well, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, it's weird because the fact is that like if pushing it on other people wasn't part of the religion, then it wouldn't be here still. You know what I mean? It's always been such a big part of it.
Touche.
Like, if you really believe that it is the word of God, then you should be trying to share that, right?
I kind of feel like Muslims cornered the market a lot more than fucking Christians did on that. Let's be fucking, I mean.
For them, it's like, if you don't believe, fuck you, I want to kill you. It's not like, let's change their mind. There's nothing, I mean, reading in the Quran, it's like, infidels. You're not supposed to like convince an infidel of the way. You're supposed to fucking kill them. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I have not read the Quran.
You know, the thing about the Quran is that it's a lot shorter of a book than like the Old Testament is. So like in the Old Testament, there's a lot of contradictions where you can kind of find a passage to support anything you want, you know?
Right.
And the Quran's a lot more succinct, and it's just like right to the point. And I mean, it's brutal. And me just saying that alone, a lot of people would say that there's like racial thing behind that. It's like, no, dude, like I don't like any religion. And I think Christianity has been responsible for a lot worse shit if you look at the whole expanse of time. But like currently, right now, what religion is causing, like, you know, like Christians, modern Christians, the reason that I'm not as worried about them as I am with like Islam is that they've kind of reformed. And it's like there is all these people that are like, yeah, but I don't necessarily believe that part and this part, you know, and yeah, they talked about slaves, but I don't believe in that. But like, I mean, it's kind of hard to be a Muslim and like, you know, not say that like, yeah, you know, people that leave the faith, they kind of deserved to get killed, you know, like I wouldn't have done it, but like, you know, and it's like, well, that's not cool, you know, like at least Christians have gotten to the point where it's like, you know, however they rationalize it, it's like, you know, they're not going to say, yeah, no, you know, gay people probably should be stoned to death. I wouldn't do it, but they should be, you know.
Right. And that's what I like about Sam. But that's what kind of Sam Harris's talk on that, especially that Bill Maher clip where fucking Alex, whatever his face is,
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. There we go.
Yeah,
Was losing his shit, looking like a turd. I really like that because even though Sam is an atheist, and even though he doesn't like Trump, and even though he's still standing up for like, okay, this is what I actually see.
right.
Know?
Exactly.
And that's the main impetus of this fucking podcast is like, here's my experience. Here's what I actually see. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And plus,
right.
I don't mind if other people believe other shit. Just don't tell me not to believe something or say something. And number two, don't say I have to do anything because of my fucking skin color or the dick between my legs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we agree on that 100%.
Yeah,
now, Ben Affleck, that shit pisses me off. I mean, and that's like such a good example of like, whoa, you're not allowed to talk about that. That makes, let's say racism. This is racist, you know, and it's like, right. I mean, like Sam Harris.
The Philippines are rife with Islamic people. You know what I mean? Like,
not to mention, you know, a big thing about it too is that, you know, sure, here in the United States, Muslims are a minority, but worldwide, they're not a fucking minority. We're talking about billions of people. You know what I mean? Like, so I get why some people are like, dude, leave the Muslims alone. There's, you know, how often do you see one walking down the street or whatever? Which is interesting too, because it's one of the only religions around these that you are like, oh, you know what I mean? You know, that's a whole nother point.
Point it kind of cut out. What did you say?
Well, just that, like, you know, you can like people that are fundamentalist Muslims, you're gonna recognize them walking down the street, especially like women. They're gonna be covered up and stuff. Which that whole fucking thing, having what do they call it, like a burqa? Somehow the left is acting like that's like empowering women, and like that's fucking not empowering women. I mean, women, if someone wants to wear that because it's their religious beliefs, that's fine. But there's millions of women out there that are forced to wear that shit, and if they don't wear it, they're gonna end up dead. You know what I mean? Like that sucks. And the whole idea is like, well, because men we can't handle seeing your body and like whatever else. So like the left on the one hand has right that like, yeah, you know, like women are human beings too. And like, just because like you're like, I don't think there's anything wrong with noticing a beautiful girl coming in, but like slapping her ass. Yeah. That's not cool, dude. Like that's a person, let them do their fucking thing, you know? So they take it too far with where it's like, you know, like, hey, were you just looking at that chick's ass? You know, that's bad of you or something. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Somebody comes walking in with a nice ass, I'm going to fucking notice it. Right. And but then they somehow forget all that shit with it's like there's these women being forced to hide everything, you know? Right. Like
I think ultimately it's a version of white guilt more than anything, because those are the people I hate more than anybody. You should know, since you've listened to the podcast more. It's not so much, you know, it's the white liberals who are out of fucking control. That's the problem. It's the American. You can have American exceptionalism all the way on one side, say like America first, to the point of get these motherfuckers out, and white nationalism and blah 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 blah. But you can also have American exceptionalism, like we are exceptional. We need to, you know, ban fucking plastic straws, when China is dumping their shit into the ocean on a regular fucking basis with no fucking check, and no one on the left, even in goddamn England, which should be, it's fucking closer to fucking China. No one is saying, hey, China, knock it off because, well, they have slanty eyes. They can't help it. I just hate that shit, man.
Right.
That's
Totally.
really what it is. It's fucking
Yeah.
white guilt. And that's I mean,
Well,
yeah.
it's interesting too, because I agree with you on that for sure. But I think also then you have the flip side of the coin there, where like, when a lot of guys like fucking what's his name, fucking Ben Shapiro talks about like white privilege and how it doesn't exist and whatever, and like I think he is making an argument for something that I don't think, like someone like me that would say that white privilege does exist to an extent in the United States. He's not arguing against what I would say to him, because what my argument would be is not that like being white automatically makes everything easy and you're rich and whatever, but like I've been in a car filled with black dudes getting pulled over, and I've been in a car full of white dudes getting pulled over, and we could make excuses for why the cops feel more worried or whatever, but like that is a privilege. Like when I was young, I got in trouble so much. Like I was getting in a lot of trouble when I was a kid, and there's very little doubt in my mind that a few of the things that happened to me as a kid, if I was not white, I would not have gone home that night. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
and even little stupid things too, like, which it seems stupid, but just like as a kid, like, yeah, superheroes are white, and like the good guy is always the white guy, and the black guy is, and like, if you have like a scene, like a good one is what's it called? National Lampoon's Vacation, and they like have to stop in the fucking ghetto. Remember that part? And they're asking for directions, and the guys start like robbing everything off their car. Do you remember? Do you know that movie, right? National Lampoon's Vacation.
No, I've never seen the original one.
Oh well. Anyways, yeah. So
I'm not an old man, Benjo.
that where it's like, oh, like you look at a scene in a movie like that, and I can't remember the exact scene, but I could guarantee you every one of the guys stealing shit off the car and like tricking them is like a black or Mexican guy, so like
Okay.
it does become normalized to where that's like, like, I mean,
but in the 70s and the 80s, can you really tell me that actually wasn't happening if they were in the ghetto?
No, but it's not that it wasn't true. It's that like, like being told that even at a young age. I mean, even like the fact that like, so like I grew up in upstate New York. The high school I went to was probably like 30% black guys. And like any black guy that did want to do good in school or not like, get into gang shit or whatever, they're like, oh, they're discouraged from that, from everybody else that's black, because it's like, oh, that's white people shit. And it's like, so that is a privilege. I didn't have that. When I hung out with black dudes, it was like, why are you trying to be black, dude? You're not fucking black, And it's like that. I don't necessarily, I'm not proposing a solution to it or to say like this or that, but there is an advantage of not having that shit happen. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Yeah. I also think it was definitely more prevalent up until the 80s. I think that's where the politically correct idea, or at least the intention, helped.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, it's gotten out of fucking control.
With politically correctness, and like I wouldn't even advocate for like, I mean, like I know you will gratuitously use the N-word. I would not say that word, and it's not because like, oh, like I see why it's like silly, why it's just a word, whatever. But I know that there's certain people that would bother them that I said that. I'm like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, man. You know what I mean? Like, why say it? Whatever. And actually, you know what I gotta say too. It's funny because like I know you're like Puerto Rican and this and this, but motherfucker, you're white. Like nobody fucking guy. You're enjoying all the white privilege I did.
Wait a second. Hang on a motherfucking second. What definite? I do want to talk about this. This is good. But what's your definition of the white privilege that I'm? Like, people don't know what the fuck I am.
Like, okay, like if walking down a dark alleyway and a lady walks by, she's gonna grab her purse a little tighter next to the black guy than she is next to you.
Sure, but I'm also just a big giant motherfucker, and people,
sure,
old ladies
clutch their purse
all over the place.
Or like if a cop shows up and somebody's like, hey, there was dudes shooting over here, and he comes up and there's a couple of black guys and then there's you and a couple of white guys, he's going to go over to the black guys. What's going on over here? Right off the bat.
But if I'm with a couple of white guys, that's
Or
such a
other guys
vague,
that look just
that's a
like
vague example. I kind of feel like, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree that I'm white, that I'm pretty fucking
like
American.
what you are, or what your DNA says. It's about the way you're perceived, you know? I mean, like, if I dyed my skin black and so I looked black and I walked around
blackface,
it'd have to be done really well. But my point is that it's like, I think human beings in general, we're like really good at recognizing patterns. And so like we do notice things, and stuff like these like stupid little parts in movies or whatever only add to shit. So it's hard. Like there's a lot of white people in this country that don't know a single black person. You know what I mean? And so like all they know is movies and whatever else. So like not saying like I'm not arguing that like this shit wasn't going on, or like, you know, if a robbery happens statistically, it's probably more likely that it's somebody black or brown. But what I am saying is that if you it would be a better strategy to try to make things better doing things like that with the movies. Yeah, sure, maybe that's not totally realistic that it's half white guys that are robbing the car in fucking National Lampoon's Vacation. But at least the kids that don't see black guys, they're not getting those images too. So maybe that could help the image that these people are having of black people or whatever.
Maybe I want to dissect that a little bit. Number one, it would be already a little crazy if there were if we were all thirds. If there were a third of the country was white, a third of the country was Mexican, a third of the country was black. And even though the statistics said blacks and Mexicans, whatever, but black people are 14% of the country, and yet creating 50% of the murder. So I'm not saying inherently just because of nature, black people are more apt to kill. I'm saying culturally that's what's happening. And the culture to make that happen is not fucking TV. The culture to make that happen is other black dudes saying, "What are you, a bitch? Or are you gonna come and join our fucking gang? What are you, a bitch? Are you gonna let that motherfucker? You're gonna let that motherfucker scuff up your shoes? You're gonna let that motherfucker take your jacket? No, you fucking join us. We're gonna go rob this motherfucker. We're gonna go blah 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 blah." Right?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but for me, it's like that's not me. So what am I gonna do? You know, tell them that they need to do that or whatever. I'm saying like, if someone does have white guilt and they recognize white privilege or whatever, and they want to do something, or like especially like Hollywood is the biggest pushers of this kind of shit in general, well then rather than like getting mad at people for saying stupid words and oh, you know, like blackface or whatever, which like I get why people feel that's insensitive, but rather than that being your main strategy, how about like I don't think it's a bad thing to have like, you know, hey, let's have the black superhero movie. Why not? Yeah, it's all make believe anyways. Let's show kids that black people can be good too.
I will. Here's where I will disagree with you on that. And then I do want to talk about my white privilege again, because that fucking got away from us too quickly.
You white as motherfucker.
You goddamn nigger. So I don't agree, because the overdoneness of it all, especially the last year and a half, 2 years, where when I talked about it, when I went to fucking Joker, they have every fucking movie trailer is about how white men did something bad and women are really standing up and black people are really standing up. What's that fucking movie coming out about some couple?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. They get pulled up and he kills the cop.
Yeah, and then they're on the run and everybody's like, "Go, you know, blah blah blah." Okay, fuck you. Because it's dishonest, it's disingenuous, and it's not coming from genuine ass motherfucking black people. It's coming from annoying black people who wouldn't be fun at the barbecue, and number two, like fucking Ta-Nehisi Coates or whatever the fuck that cocksucker's name is, and number two, white fucking writers. That's where it's coming from. It's the condescension of white people to say, "We're gonna do you one good, black people. Here you go. We're gonna make all these black people, all black movies or whatever." It's, and not just the condescension, it's the money grubbing fucking white studio executives who know that woke equals dollars right now.
That's the main reason they're doing any of it. The only motivation is really the money. I mean, and it's what's cool right now. I don't disagree with really anything you said. I guess it's just one of those things where like I mean, really, I think the only real solution to shit like this, like major social change, is time. And if you like
Exterminate
look
white
back,
people.
when things don't fucking when things don't happen immediately, or like even in somebody's lifetime drastically enough, they think that like nothing's fucking happening. But like, yeah, you go back to the 80s, the 70s, 60s, keep going back. It's like we've come so fucking far. But like when we get to this point where it's like, I mean, it drives me nuts when people like, I got into some Facebook argument a while ago, and it was something about, it was about Antifa. Because I said the first time I heard Antifa's name, like popping back up, I know it's not like a new organization, but in the current climate, it was like, why don't you just call yourself anti-evil? We don't do anything bad. We're after the bad guys. Like, what do you stand for? Just being like anti-fascist. Nobody wants fascists around. You know what I mean? So it gives them this like coverall to do anything. And it's like, what, are you a fascist then? It's like, no.
Like,
I just think
like
what
George
you're
W. Bush, like George W. Bush's administration when they're anti-terror or anti, we're gonna get the evildoers. Evildoers can be anybody depending on whatever your definition is, and
Right.
that's why having, that's why it's kind of good that we have a swing from 4 to 8 years of Democrat and then 4 to 8 years of Republican, and if we just calm the fuck down a little bit, I don't know, but I will talk to as far as the idea of saying the N-word or whatever. I don't know. I haven't had any black people on my show who disagree with me saying it, and not just because of my Puerto Ricanness. I've had one Mexican guy who didn't like me saying it, but then when he found out I was Puerto Rican, he was like, "Oh, okay, all right," which I don't like that.
Is that part of the political identity politics? It's like, oh, I didn't know that's in your genetics, so that's okay. You know?
That's what fucking sucks. I'm not saying, and I've said it a million fucking times on the show, and I'll say it again. I'm not saying that I use it willy-nilly with any black guy I don't fucking know. Just like I wouldn't say cunt or bitch or whatever, or make a fucking rape joke with a bunch of females I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Because there's an appropriate time and place for everything, and I want to be kind or whatever. But as far as
don't you think about like? Sorry to interrupt you, but like with doing the podcast and stuff, I mean, you seem to have big aspirations, and I think you're doing a good job. So like, doesn't it mean that like there will be people that will watch it that maybe don't like? I mean, it's just like
absolutely. Let me make this point to that idea of the other analogy that I used, which was I don't say rape jokes in a group of women I don't know. Do I think that's an inappropriate place to say a rape joke? Yeah. Do I think people shouldn't be allowed to, or I shouldn't be allowed to? Fucks no. You know what I mean? Because principle has to come before the personality. I choose when to say it, when not to say it, and I'm not a douchebag about it. So like, we've had comedians on the show talk about open micers who will get up there and just say nigger, 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 and just because they saw fucking Louis C.K. do it and think that I'm cutting edge, I'm edgy.
Well, it's like gratuitous use of it. I mean, that's the thing though, because you've been pretty gratuitous with it in episodes too. I mean,
for the sake of humor in conversation on a podcast, yes, I have.
Yeah,
but
I don't see the difference of a stand-up comedian doing it or you doing it on the podcast.
I do. Here's why. If a comedian does it, who is that, number one, that's totally two different contexts, two different audiences. People who and even you who listens to almost every episode, you've started listening to some who you're like, I'm not really feeling this episode. Or you read the description and you're like, I'm not really feeling this guy. I don't want to hear some MAGA guy, or I don't want to hear some.
I check them all out. Those are actually my favorite ones, the people that I'm shaking my head at the whole fucking episode.
Oh, that's good. But you know what I mean? Like,
you're trying to say like I clicked on your shit to listen to it. So like if I don't want to hear the rape jokes and whatever, then don't click on it.
Right. And there's a difference between Tom Segura, as an example, going to a show or booking a show at a giant theater in LA full of his fans, and Tom Segura jumping up for a 5-minute, 10-minute set at the Comedy Cellar full of a bunch of tourists who have, like, maybe half of them might know who he is. There's a difference there. And I'm not leaning on that idea of, well, these are my people, so fuck you, whatever. I've used it gratuitously over the top to to humorous effect because it makes me laugh to say something outlandish. That same emotion behind me saying nigger, 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 you know, or whatever, which I haven't done. I mean, besides, you know,
only twice on this episode.
And I will say part of the benefit of this fucking podcast and is, you know, people who listen to this fucking show know I'm a douchebag and I make fun of myself and I'm a hypocrite. I think we all are goddamn hypocrites. Sure. And that's, I think part of it should be goddamn refreshing for me. I'm not somebody, even a Ben Shapiro or whatever, who get up and don't have that self-checking humor. You know, I'm not somebody who's like, this is the state of the union or this is the state of politics, because I'm just some douchebag with no fucking college degree. You know what I mean? I'm funny and I'm a musical act and whatever. So that's this is my place to rant and have people have great conversations, right?
I mean, I get that. And honestly, I'm not trying to say that anybody, I definitely don't think like the law should ever be brought in. Like, I think hate speech is a stupid thing. There's certainly things that are hateful to say. I don't think that hate speech doesn't exist, but I don't think that there should be laws against it. And I don't think that you should be stopped from saying it. And I'm not even like trying to convince you not to say it. It's just like, I know for me personally, the only reason I would avoid saying it is because I'm like, you know, like, what benefit do I get out of it? And I get like, yeah, if it makes you laugh or whatever, then whatever, then there is some benefit to it. I just have no benefit to it. And like, also like, have you ever seen someone yelling at a black person saying that shit in a hateful way, like live in person? It fucking tears at my heart seeing some shit like that. Cause it's just like, I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, there's, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, but I will say to this, I think context is everything. Totally. When you said part of the reason you won't say is because it might hurt some people. Oh, Queen and Slim. I just saw a taxi go by with the name of the fucking movie. I am not going to watch Queen and Slim. Oh, fuck that shit. Oh, the big fucking droopy-eyed guy from fucking Get Out. Oh, look, I'm crying again because of white people. Huh?
What did you think about Get Out?
I didn't watch it.
I think it's a good movie. Honestly, see, the thing is, like, and I don't know, this other one, I totally get what you're saying. Like, I think it is bad to push this narrative of, like, white people are bad. You know, I guess I stand to lose on that one. So I don't like it. But also, like, it's like that it's not helpful, you know? So, yeah, that movie definitely looks like it's like white people and cops are bad. And I don't think that's a great thing to push. But like a movie like Get Out, I think that movie did a really good job of, I mean, it's supposed to be, you know, it's like fantasy, you know what I mean? Whatever, horror. No one's saying like this is how it is, but it's like, it's interesting metaphor for like, I mean, I get, you know, I mean, and I know like going to like a black barbecue or whatever and being the only white dude there, I know how I feel there, and I can only imagine what it's like the other way around. You go around a bunch of uptight white people. You're the one black guy.
White people is one thing. No, I think I disagree with you. Maybe uptight white people, but if a black guy goes to a fucking white barbecue, everybody wants to talk to him. Everybody wants to be around him. Now it's a whole nother level of like, oh, these fucking people don't get me.
Like, can I touch your hair and shit like that? Where it's like,
okay, maybe
like a pet came in and I want to check out the cute puppy dog. You know what I mean?
Right, which is part of the reason why I say the fucking N-word, because I don't want to kowtow. I don't want to treat people differently. And the other thing is, you said that like I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't genuinely believe in the right context is everything, that black people are like, I've heard stories of white dudes like on the basketball court. Opie from Opie and Anthony told this story when he was like in high school. He was playing basketball with all these black guys and he said, "Hey, good game, nigga." And the guy socked him in the face.
Right.
Now, do I think Opie was maybe stupid and socially awkward and shouldn't have used that word? Yeah, okay. But do I think the black guy was right? Fucks no. No, I do goddamn not. Just because he's black and his fucking feelings were hurt, why are his feelings more valid than a black guy, than multiple black guys I've had on the show? One of them who even thanked me for using the word instead of saying the N-word.
Sure. No, yeah.
I don't. In the right context.
I guess, I mean, because it's not even necessarily like, oh, those poor black people, they can't handle me saying that word. It's just in general, I feel like, I mean, it's another thing of like, fighting how things should be or how they actually are. And the fact is, saying that word, whether it's a white person that's like, wow, I can't believe that guy says that or whatever, or it's a black person that's not necessarily like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that word, but it's like, fuck this guy. He thinks he can say that shit. And like, so when I say hurt people's feelings, I don't mean like it's going to make some black guy cry because he heard you say the N word, but it could totally be like, fuck this guy. Like, why, what, kind of takes away some credibility of like, whatever, because it's such an emotionally charged word, whether it should be or whether it shouldn't be and whatever, that like it's inevitable. It's going to make people feel some kind of way about it, and it's not going to be a positive way for the most part.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that I don't know what I'm doing going into this. But like when I was thinking about whether or not I should, it was a genuine thought process of mine. I even called one of my black rapper friends to see who's, whatever, to talk to him about what he would think about me using the word. And he never got back to me. And I kind of thought, just in my own body, I know eventually I'm going to get caught either saying it on the podcast, and it's not live, I can edit it out. But like, I'm going to get caught, whatever. So you know what? Fuck it. I don't want to be canceled later on. Let me just go into it fucking kind of open,
Sure.
So, and also, again, context is everything. With somebody, I'm sorry to say it, it sounds arrogant or whatever, but like with somebody who is funny and who is doing the right context, and I believe I'm smart enough to do that and to understand when it's a good time to use it and when not.
Sure.
I don't always use it. I know I trust myself to know when is a good time and when's not a good time, and I also kind of know that I'm funny enough to kind of pull it off. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
sure.
And I wrap myself in that. Well, I'm half Puerto Rican blanket when I need to be funny, not to say like, well, I'm allowed to say it because I'm Puerto Rican. I do it over the top to say that, to make a joke about how identity politics is stupid. You know what I mean? I go over the top to say, well, like I said earlier, an Asian cop was yelling, so obviously all Asians are bad. I point that out to say we're all fucking human, knock the shit off. And the way I think to take away some of the emotion over time is to kind of use it in the right context and not be afraid, because I want to be the same as fucking black people. Not that cultures aren't different, and I want to accentuate and be real about that. But on a human ass fucking level, if we have an untouchable word, if there's untouchable shit or untouchable thought, I don't want to have that. I think it separates us ultimately at its foundation.
I can dig that. I would say, if you think about what our ultimate goal regarding like race relations is like, nobody fucking gives a shit. Sam Harris always says it should become a fact about you that's as interesting as your hair color. Nobody's like, oh, I don't talk to people with black hair, or whatever. It's like, It should just be, who gives a shit what the color of your skin is. You could have a preference, like, I like tan skinned girls with dark hair, you know what I mean? Whatever. And I like them a lot thicker than you do. I'll tell you that much.
I like ass. I'm just saying skinny. I like skinny white girls, but I like a little ass.
Apple on the Unlearn the World episode. I was like, this motherfucker said Fiona Apple.
Listen,
and I know you love her. Do you think though, is that like mostly because like who she is and her music more, or just mostly, like you saw her?
Mostly, you know what it is? No, you know what it is for Fiona is that there's something about those big fucking eyes. I'm talking 90s Fiona. Don't get it twisted. Fucking her bone structure, bony ass, whatever.
So fucking sunken in, even when at the height of her shit to me.
Okay, but 90s Fiona Apple, when she had those big fucking lips and those wide eyes, I like that shit. And also, the context of I literally was like 10, 11 years old when she was reaching her peak, where I was like, wow, like, I remember watching that
What's
MTV.
Funny feeling in my pants right now.
That's what I'm saying. You gotta have a special place in your heart for your first. You know what I mean? Like I was talking about it the other day. Sporty Spice was one of my first crushes because she was like that. Wow, like
that was the one I
don't know why, but she just was.
Yeah, that was my favorite Spice Girl, was Sporty Spice. Ooh. But honestly, I remember when the Spice Girls came out, being like, none of these girls is a 10 though. Like they're good looking, you know what I mean? But
you were 39 when they came out, so I get that. I get how
I'm not that much older than you. I was born in '83. What are you born in '86?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my. I got a little brother that's your age.
Ah, fucking okay, boomer. Um, so, oh, the other thing I'll say and then I think we should wrap up because I gotta piss my fucking brains out. And this has been a great episode. Thank you so much for fucking doing this with me.
Here.
The other thing, as far as the fucking Get Out and Jordan Peele, I like him in comedy context. I haven't seen Us or Get Out, so I'm talking out of my ass a little bit. But as far as him being some sort of a crusader for white people and race relations, first things first, the motherfucker's a halvesy. Let's be fucking real.
Yeah.
Okay. Him and Peele are both half white and half black.
But it also goes back to like his perception is he's a black guy. Nobody's like, oh, that white guy, I didn't know he was black. You know what I mean? But like people, you all the time are like, oh shit, I didn't know you had Latino in you or whatever. I would imagine.
I mostly point that out not to say, well, he's not black. I mostly point that out to his experience. I've had people on the show and I've had conversations with halvesies who were not white enough for the white people and not black enough for the black people. Okay? Sure. So he grew, not just that, but also he grew up around white people. He had white people in his life actively. It wasn't just he grew up in fucking the Bronx and the only white people he knew were fucking evil cops. Okay, let's be fucking real. He had actively in his home every day white people. Not just that, his fucking girlfriend is Chelsea Peretti, or I think they're still together, a white fucking broad. So let's be fucking real. When it comes to evil white, is suddenly all of a sudden you have white people in your family and you choose a white girlfriend. So I'm just saying.
But you know, honestly, I don't like. I think you probably should watch Get Out. I mean, I watched it a while ago, so maybe I'm gonna watch it again and be like, oh, I guess maybe I'm not. But like, I went into that movie thinking it was gonna be okay, here we go, fucking how shitty are white people in this? But it's like I said, I saw it as like a metaphor where like they are all really nice to him and whatever. But he's like worried about like, you know, he feels very out of place, which he probably did growing up with white people. So that like speaks true to him of being like, you know, whether you're being nice or not, being the one that like automatically pops out or whatever, makes you feel a certain way, whatever. And like, so then the movie kind of like goes into like what your worst fucking thoughts could be like that's going to fucking happen. You know, it's like, you know, sure, everybody was nice and whatever, but like, oh, what's their ulterior motive? They're gonna fucking do some fucking crazy shit, and then that happens. You know what I mean? But like, I don't think it was. I didn't really. I was pleasantly surprised with it that it was like, because I think he does get pushed with this like whole thing of like he's this black crusader, and I think certain things he says are taken to be put into that context. Like I know he said something about like he's never gonna cast a white guy as the lead role in his movies. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Like, if that's what you want to do, like you want to tell stories that like Get Out, I think was, oh shit.
Rude.
Yo, did I lose you there for a second?
No.
Okay. Oh well, my phone started ringing. What was I gonna say? Just
okay. If that's his artistic desire, I stand behind it. What I don't like is talking about it. The reason why he fucking talked about it is not because it's his artistic desire. It's because he's trying to get that fucking woke money and that woke points, whether it be subconsciously or consciously. And the other thing is the why can't we have, and I ranted about this on the some other episode, you know me. But why can't we have the story? If you want to hear different stories, let's hear the story of a halvesy who fucking didn't fit in with the black community, who got teased. Let's hear the story of a black guy. Maybe he will, but let's hear the story, because I hear it all the fucking time in actual fucking black community, of lighter skinned dudes making fun of fucking darker skinned dudes, or vice versa. We never hear that fucking story except for once on a fucking Me, Myself, and I, you know, where Q-Tip was like, hey, black is black. You know what I mean? Like, we never hear that fucking story. Let's hear the story of a black villain who's just a shit-ass piece of shit villain, like the fucking Joker or some other, or fucking, or Hannibal Lecter. It has to be because all the way back when he was a child, he got fucking, waterboarded by some white man. Come on, man. It's not interesting. It's not fucking interesting.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I get, Jordan Peele, it's funny because honestly, I never thought he was very funny. Like the whole Key and Peele show, I think they would always have like a funny little spot and then take it way too far to where it wasn't even funny. So I actually have a lot more respect for him with the movies that he's made than any of his comedy stuff.
Right. I like, who I like? Peele, especially in the Mad TV days. Peele when he's on fucking Parks and Recreation with that like vapid character he played.
Which one is the tall, skinny one? Is that Peele or Key?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, Keel. Or Keel. Key.
Let's just call the tall, skinny one and the shorter, chubbier one.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, the tall, skinny dude, he was also on Reno 911. You remember that show?
Was he?
Yeah, he was one of the guys that would get arrested regularly. Allegedly.
Oh, yeah.
And like totally indict himself on some shit, but just keep on saying allegedly. And he was funny on that.
That show. Nick Swartz is really funny in that show too.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
All right. Well, fucking. Do you? Let's start wrapping up. Can people go listen to your stuff? Oh, by the way,
yeah.
Are you done with Stay?
Oh, the remix?
Yeah.
I haven't done it since that last one I sent you because I was going to see if you were going to actually send me an acapella of it.
Oh shit! You're waiting on me. I'm sorry.
I haven't. But I wasn't going to do anything more until I had that because I did a lot of shit on it, and then I was like, man, if I had the acapella, because towards the end, that is probably my other favorite off the album, by the way. But towards the end, when it gets really intense and it like picks up, it's a lot harder for me to put anything on there. So I was like, man, if I had the acapella, or do I just play that part at the end? When you said you could get me the acapella, I was like, okay, well, I'm not even going to touch it then until I have that. But I mean, I could.
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything from the producer yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's either way. I'll wrap it up. But if you can get the acapella, I'll do something cool with the end part too.
Yeah, give me a week. I'll get an answer from the producer about what's going on with it.
Okay, but yeah, my music is right now really the only place you can find me. Like my own stuff is SoundCloud, Benjo Beats, one word, not one word. The rapper, just one word, Benjo. And,
although you have done stuff with one word.
Yeah, one word is actually, so I'm working on my first like actual album, and it's all instrumental stuff, and one word's actually helping me doing the mixes on some of that.
Right.
Which is cool. And then I'm also working on an album with a singer, this chick, Elena Leona, who's like a homie of mine, and we've been working on this album for like 2 years, but it's finally like pretty much done, so we're going to put that out like early next year, and I'm going to put out my instrumental album sometime hopefully early next year. And then I've got like, I produced a lot of tracks for other people, but I'm not going to promote their music here. So you can check out my shit on SoundCloud.
And then if people want to hit you up to buy beats or whatever, they can do that too.
No, I don't do that.
You're just sick of dealing.
No, like I'm down to work with people and whatever, but like music now, and actually not to like get into a whole nother thing, but you always talk shit about musicians that do it as their hobby, and like how it's like,
all right,
I'm taking it seriously. And I was taking it seriously when I was in San Francisco. I was like genuinely pursuing a career, and then I had a fucking kid, and it was like, okay, shit, I need to make some money. So I went back to doing what I was doing before, and then ended up moving up here, and it was like I was trying to still hold on to that, or like, oh, I'll get back to that, you know. But I never stopped making music, and honestly, like, so I was going to SAE, the audio engineering school in San Francisco, when I was there, and like that whole time doing that, and then like still trying to pursue the career part of it, I didn't like the realities of some of the shit. Like I don't like being pretentious, and I think to be an artist, you kind of have to be a little pretentious, you know.
Hi, everybody.
Like, I mean, I'm jealous of people that can be, or like.
But I didn't. Okay, but I will defend myself a little bit. But thank you. But I'm not saying. I wasn't shitting on people over the top like the way I have been who do music for hobbies for any reason really, except to speak to myself, to get myself motivated to get out here and to be around competitive people. I didn't mean it in the fact of fuck you You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
honestly, it's like when I'll like the chick that I've been working on this album with, like sometimes we get into these conversations where I'm like making this great argument of why like pursuing a music career is a bad idea. She's trying to pursue a music career, you know?
Right.
So I'm like, at some point, I'm like, but I don't want to take it away from you. Like, I get, like, yeah, like, I liked doing shows and I like people telling me shit is cool or whatever. But like, I don't know. I get it was something about, and I don't know if it's necessarily the pressure. I just don't like I used to do beat battles a lot, so I was like doing a lot of the beat battles in San Francisco. I won quite a few of them too, by the way. But and while I did enjoy like winning, losing fucking sucked, and I really didn't like people that like the competition of it all because like I love art and I love music passionately. I don't love it any less than I ever did. I think about it every fucking day. I'm always trying to get better and whatever. I just didn't like that like I could put something into it and then somebody is like just judging it. You know what I mean? Like I haven't put out music for a while. And it's not really because I give a shit what anybody thinks about me. I just like if I was trying to do it on my career, I would. You know what I mean? Because then it's like, oh, this isn't working out or whatever. And then I'm thinking about that the whole fucking time I'm trying to make music. And then trying to like I found especially making beats for rappers, you know, like I wasn't following the path musically that I wanted to follow. I was doing what I people would want, you know, like, oh, this dude wants some beats. I'm gonna sit down all weekend and make beats that he would like, you know. And and notice I said he because I'm not a big fan of female rappers myself.
So you agree with me when it comes to that shit?
That's one of those things. I don't think that it's like as natural for most women. Sure, there's gonna be exceptions.
Yeah.
But
Lil MC is great. Fucking, you know, there's a bunch of good female rappers, but it's that spike of Camille Paglia talks about it. That spike of the reason why there are more male Mozarts is the same reason why there are more male serial killers.
yeah.
Because the insanity, the spikes, females are more like are more level when it comes to interests like that. We're more crazy or fucking, you know what I mean, or hella stupid or whatever.
Well, and it's funny because then when it comes to like singers, I like a lot more female singers than male singers.
Right, but
and
how
not
many
even,
of them?
I mean,
How many of them write their own shit? That's what.
that's a good point. But it's also like I feel like when it comes to like love songs, I'd rather hear a chick singing a love song to me than a dude singing a love song to me. You know, not to say there's not good love songs written by guys. There's plenty of them. But it's kind of like that nurturing and like I wouldn't say sexual, but it is kind of like you know like like the sound of a woman's voice sounds better to me than sound of a dude's voice. You know, but like just because it does something inside me. You know, this soft, sweet voice. Whereas like a guy's voice isn't going to do that. You know what? We do got to wrap it up though. I got to go get my kid here from school in a minute.
All right, sweet. I gotta fucking piss. So go find Benjo Beats, Benjo, on SoundCloud and where else?
Just there for now, but I'm gonna have my new album up on Spotify.
Awesome, badass. And also, you can support this podcast at patreon.com/conservatish. And also, this money goes to all of my musical endeavors, all of my artistic endeavors. And you can find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano. Where can people find you on social media?
Facebook's good. My Instagram is just pictures of my kids. So if you follow that, I think you're a fucking weirdo.
This is just for your mom. Okay, cool. And you can make sure you subscribe, go buy my album or download it or just stream it for free on fucking Spotify. It's on iTunes, it's everywhere. It's very, very good. I'm the best in the world.
Really?
Thank you, sir. And also, what else? Just make sure you subscribe and listen to this. And thank you again very much, Benjo, for being on the show.
Well, I hope to do it again someday.
Yes, please. All right, man. Send me that fucking audio soon.
Will do. All right, bro.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.